started with "It's time to Mother Earth." But what if we took a different phrase? What if we said, we must remember the future? Now, we use remember all the time. But how can you remember something if you didn't remember it first? Maybe we really didn't consciously remember our society, our culture, our future. But now, what if we took the time to remember a future with humility, with inclusion, with equity, with justice, with fairness, centered as consciously the foundations on which we build that future, not just the vestiges that get attached as nice words at the end of it. We must remember our future, our culture, and we will, in that process, be more democratic, small d, be more loving, be more respectful, because all of that will be essential to remembering our future. Now, we need to do it with far more humility. We have had a level of societal arrogance that has left too many people off, has ignored too many people in what we call euphemistically the global South. It's taken advantage of and exploited people for, sort of the greed, need, excess. And it is uncanny how consistent the comments are. When you first want to change something, why do you want to change that? Oh, it's going to without examining anything, you always hear, it's going to cost too much money. It's going to cause us to fold. Invariably, it doesn't. It may cost something, but let's be clear. We haven't looked at both sides of the ledger. It's already costing. It's costing the lives and the capacity of people to live a healthy, full existence. Now, that cost often does not get what I call ledgered in the process. But it's there, and it's real. It's diffused because it is in our individual homes, as opposed to the financial spreadsheet for a particular company may well be in that quarter. It's a collected entity, but they are not equal, but they have harms. There is a cost. There's always a cost, but there's a cost on both sides. And you look, there's plenty. There is abundance. If you're going to talk about patterning after nature, look at what happens in the spring. I have a maple tree in my front yard. When it begins to leaf in spring, it puts out these cute little seeds. And they look like little whistle things, and kids used to play with them. It puts out easily 1,000,000 of them. There is no way that all 1,000,000 of those are going to become maple trees. Nature uses its abundance to keep itself supplied and nourished. We don't take what's exactly in front of us, what we already know. We don't take it and use it and engage it. I spent 17 years on the board of directors at Interface, and some of you won't know what the company is. We created the category of recycled carpet. I'm not making a commercial, but the man who founded the company in, I think, 1973 was Ray Anderson, and he was also an incredible mentor for me, along with Bella, with Wangari Maathai. And there was something he used to do, and we both started doing it in our speeches. And now I want you, while you're watching this video, I want you to do the same thing. I want you to sit back in your chair. I want you to sort of calm down. And I want you to close your eyes for a moment. And I want you to take a couple of deep breaths. Take a few deep breaths. And then I want you to think about times when you're someplace that is where you're calm, where you're relaxed, that's nourishing, where you're happy and restored. And then what Ray would do is he would ask, and he said, now, I want those of you who are indoors to raise your hand. And he would see how many people would have raised a hand. And then he would say, now I want you to open your eyes. And without fail, every single time, you'd look around the room. If there were 100 people in the room, maybe 4 people were inside. All the rest had imagined themselves in a park, where they used to play when they were 12 years old, or by a stream where they used to fish with their grandfather, or the night sky, or, the full moon by the lake, always outdoors. We as beings are hardwired to be in nature, and we consistently resist that. It's as though we don't even acknowledge what we know internally, what we know intuitively. We must spend some time developing and listening to and believing our intuitive knowledge, because it will guide us to make decisions that are in our own interest, that are healthy for our communities. We have too much that we have created that is intrinsically artificial when there was available and abundant in nature, in our gardens, in our history, in our knowledge, in our grandmothers' and grandfathers' experience, exactly what we needed to be healthy, to be able to thrive. We have a much larger population than we ever did. We can't continue to do all that we've done at the levels at which we've done it and in the ways in which we've done it, because we now understand something called, what is your footprint on Earth? The footprints are so heavy that we have literally trampled the Earth. And there's wonderful exploration of space, but not to the point of saying we're now going to do all that dirty manufacturing that we didn't want to do here, where we're going to take that and then do it somewhere else. No, let's create systems where the rivers are cleaned. Many faith traditions talk about stewardship and responsibility. We often talk about, it's my right to do this, it's my right to do that. Well, always with rights come responsibilities. And we, I think, have too seldom embraced and married the responsibilities parts with the rights part. I think back to when Karima and Dasal were each graduating from high school and undergraduate school, how rich and wonderful I felt. I didn't think about all those nights when something went wrong. I thought about how, as a collective process, that I had spent those 18 years caring for them and nurturing them, in fact, brought us to this place where they then were ready to take their role in being responsible citizens and responsible adults. Now, my grandfather, James Granville Harding, bless his heart, was graduated from medical school in 1917 from Meharry. And I say that because we need to name these HBCU institutions, but that's my plug. He then went back to Dallas, Texas, and began to practice medicine. And he was a surgeon. As from my research, as best I can tell, he was the first African-American oncological surgeon in this country. He used to have, and I never actually got to meet him physically. I got to know him from reading his prolific notes, because he had an opinion about everything. But he would say, for far too long, we've had these vertical models of hierarchy where we have put the surgeon at the top, or where we have put, some parts of society at the top, and then we have some others. He said, we need to have much more models that we turn on our side and think of them as continuums. In the same way that you have to have a biodiversity of a seed stock to have a strong, healthy plant, we are, as people, equally stronger when we have a diversity and a multiplicity of us who are there. If everybody went to the same school, had the same major, and had the same ideas, they may be good ideas, but you're missing the opportunity to have the abundance and strength that comes from that very same diversity. A colleague and friend of mine that many of you probably know, Vandana Shiva, often says monocultures of all kinds are more vulnerable. We know that's true with seeds. We know that's true with people. We know that's true with policy. But we also have to look at what we've done in terms of the academic institutions, not just higher learning, but K through 12 or all learning institutions across the planet. We've for too long had silos of expertise that were independent and not connected. And what we've learned and realized that we need that interconnectedness, because in the same way that we talked about biodiversity or seed stocks having a stronger plant, a stronger outcome in the ways in which they were collaborative, the ways in which they were integrated. In that same way, our education, our learning, our intelligences must also be interwoven to be stronger. It is time for us to put together a new world, a future, but to do so with the humility, with the kindness, with love that understands that it is an incredibly powerful motivator to help us get to where we must in terms of how we work our way out of this incredible crisis. I'm almost tempted to not even use the word crisis anymore, because I think it may have lost some of its value in terms of being a motivator. And we need to find words and language that helps us move. But love has literally brought us this far. So let's embrace the love we need to express, the respect we need to share among each other, the courage that it will take for us to shed these shackles of a lifestyle that has not made us happy necessarily. We have talked about so many poignant moments, critical times, times of change, thresholds that take us to a different point. And as we remember and move to a new future, I wanted to share with you some words that were so helpful to me last summer, that were written first by Arundhati Roy, and she talked about how we would leave the pandemic. And I just want you to hear them. She said, historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. We can choose to walk through it, dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and hatred, our avarice, our data banks, and our dead ideas, our dead rivers and smoky highs behind us. Or we can walk through lightly, with little luggage, ready to imagine another world and ready to fight for it. I hope we will make the right choice.